Hello, welcome back to another commentary video. Okay, so today we're talking about Doom the Dark Ages, if the background and the title weren't obvious. And Doom the Dark Ages has been out for a little bit now. It came out this year, but it still has had a couple months to be out. People have gotten their reviews out, and it's been to mixed reception. I do like Doom Eternal, I think, but people have already gotten their reviews out for Doom the Dark Ages. People have been doing video reviews of the game and stuff, and there's been some mixed reception to it. Some people really like it, some people think it's very flawed, and some people make responses to people saying they don't like it that much and then getting mad at them and completely contradicting everything they said. So today, I'm going to bridge the gap between what I think is good. Is Doom the Dark Ages really that good? I have beat the entire game on Ultraviolence difficulty. I have played through it. I have not 100%ed it, but I've done all of the missions all the way through. So I'm here to give you an unbiased response. Now, I do think id Software fans technically tend to be a little bit more biased towards id Software whenever it comes to them saying things about their games, because sometimes I think they usually think that everything id Software makes is incredible, when in reality certain things aren't that great. Like, I still have certain problems with games like Doom 2016 and Eternal. They are really great and they are really well done games, but they're not perfect. So that's what I'm doing today, is we're going to be looking at Doom the Dark Ages, because I think it has had the most flaws in the newest Doom trilogy, the basic remastering. So first off, we're going to go through different things that are about the game, and we're going to go through each one. I'm going to explain what I like and what I don't like about each thing. So let's go with the first basic thing, the story. Now, the story in this game, it's supposed to take place after Doom 64, which is very odd to me. It doesn't really... Like, Doom timelines and story have never really made much sense, but I definitely think this story was a lot more easy to follow compared to Doom Eternal. Doom the Dark Ages is this bigger story. Like, they tried to go with a more epic tale, I guess, where, these night people, this sort of more technologically advanced, but still less than, like, the Makers, are working with the Makers, who they kind of idolize, while still weaponizing the Doomslayer to defeat the armies of hell and stuff. And then you have this Prince Azrak guy who is kind of cool looking. He's one of the cooler Doom villains I've seen. So I think I very much like the story for this game. It's a lot easier to follow. It's got a basic premise. It starts off in somewhere that's normal, and you don't need to know too much about Doom to understand it, and I think that's great. And it kind of introduces its characters really well, and the Doom guy, his entry to the game is just insane. The way they say the Slayer is activated and he falls out of the sky and just kills everything around it. It's awesome. So, story is great. That's an A+ for me. I think they did a great job with the story. It works out really well. But let's move more into gameplay aspects, because I think that's more where people were sort of skeptical about this game, because Doom now has kind of gotten itself into that loop where it's more like this running around, running, gunning kind of gameplay style that they've gone with 2016 and Eternal, and then the Ancient Gods DLC and stuff. And they really were getting it correct, I think. Like, they really had just gotten it right with Eternal, and then I think the big thing that mainly put a lot of people off is they kind of just completely switched it with Dark Ages to this more stand-and fight, which is fine, but I definitely think there are some things that were done a little weird and probably could have been done better. So let's start off with the big thing that people were complaining about, at least a couple people, and that was glory kills. This was the big thing with the Actman review that a lot of people were not happy about, is because he said he didn't like the glory kill system being gone. This is something that I agree with also. So, here's the thing. I mainly started playing Doom, the new games too, because I would see people doing this insane thing where I saw them pick a demon up and then rip it in half, or they throw him against a wall and smash his face in, or they bash his head in, or then you cut him up in little pieces. Like, that's cool. That was something I really thought was cool, and I'm a stickler for takedown animations. So, when I saw 2016 Eternal, I really thought that was such a cool idea, especially because you have Doomguy, this huge and powerful character that fans have, like, loved for so long, who is this huge, like, he's almost unstoppable, and he's able to pick up demons and then just crush them with his bare hands. I think that was so cool. And the big problem I had with Doom Eternal was these execution things. I didn't hate it, but it wasn't as cool as I wanted it to be. I definitely think it would have worked better for Dark Ages. I definitely think having a glory kill system may not have worked with the type of movement speed they had. But I definitely feel like it should have been there still, because glory kills is like, it's like the standard for Doom. It's like when you play a Doom game, you're going into it expecting it. But when you go into a Doom game expecting that, and it's not there, it's a little off-putting. It's like going into a Mortal Kombat game and expecting there to be fatalities, and then it turns out they've taken out fatalities. Like, that's, you can't just do that. That's not a thing you can just do. And I guess id Software was trying to be different with it, and they had that excuse where they didn't want it to be really repetitive, but that's the problem I had, is that Doom the Dark Ages is pretty repetitive with that little kick animation scene. All of those kicks and punches get very repetitive after a while, and there's actually a couple times where Doom the Dark Ages, I just stopped playing it for certain periods of time. Let me give you a little bit of a... Let me give you a difference here. Eternal, one time I was playing Eternal for a long time, and I was playing it I was so into it that I almost didn't want to stop playing it. But I had to because it was late at night and I had to wake up the next morning. So I ended up turning the game off, but I really wanted to keep going because of how fun it was. Now, here's Doom the Dark Ages. I was playing it, and then, like, halfway through me playing, I just stopped playing it because I got bored of it, because it wasn't just the executions, but I just felt like it was, not only because the game is a lot slower, but also because, well, this execution thing is in here, and then it's not as cool to watch. And I don't understand that people say it was very repetitive, because I guess they're trying to defend id Software, but, like, I felt it was less repetitive in 2016 in Eternal because you had, like, runes that let you speed up the glory kill animation, or you got a speed boost after. Like, there was something to be had after doing it, while in Dark Ages you kind of just hit the demon and they're dead, and sometimes you'll get ammo depending on the weapon you're using. That doesn't really work for me, and it definitely didn't feel like Doom Guy, this huge person who can pick things up and rip them apart, was just going, like, it didn't feel like Doom Guy. It felt more like I was just punching things for the sake of punching things. And that wasn't a really big one. I like executions, I just think they could have been done better. Maybe keep them locked to melee only and still have glory kills, so if people want to do glory kills they can, or if they want to use the melee weapons to do executions they can, because I feel like that would have worked a lot better, because melee combat is very heavily leaned on in this game for its gameplay, as there are 3 different melee weapons, as in every other Doom game there's really only been 2, and that's the chainsaw and the crucible, and the crucible is very limited in your use because you only get 3 uses of it, and the chainsaw is also very limited because it's really only used for ammo. So I definitely think that the melee aspect of it is cool, but not having glory kills just didn't feel great. But that's not the reason, that wouldn't make me not want to play the game. I still had a great time with the game, but that was just something I found to be a little off-putting. Now let's go with weaponry, and weaponry is always an important thing in a Doom game, because every weapon in the previous Doom games now, at least 2016 Eternal, has always had its place. And that was the big thing with Eternal, is that no weapon was left unused, basically. Like, in your playthrough of Eternal, you'll probably end up using all of your weapons in one battle scene, in like one encounter of enemies at least once. You'll have to cycle through at least all of them, because each of them have their own uses. Like, you'll use the super shotgun to take out heavier demons' armor, or you'll use the minigun to spray down smaller demons while chipping away at the armor of a bigger demon, or, you know, use your rocket launcher to blow up large enemies and then blow up bigger things of enemies. Like, it's all got its place. You have, like, you have your combat shotgun with the grenade launcher attachments for Kago demons and stuff. Like, it's all got its own place. And that's something I found a little bit missing from Dark Ages, because while the variety and the amount of weaponry in Dark Ages is a lot and it's all really cool, some of it just didn't really work for me, and some of it I ended up not using it. See, the thing in Dark Ages is that there's no weak spots for enemies except if it's like, you know, shielded or armored enemies, but you're using the shield to do that anyway, because when you throw the shield, it breaks the armor. If you heat it up enough, apparently, but, you know. So, weaponry in the game just didn't feel like it had the same importance as it did in Doom Eternal. Because after I got the Super Shotgun and every other weapon in the game, I felt myself using the Super Shotgun more than anything else. The Super Shotgun is a very viable weapon. It's very powerful, it's easy to find ammo for it, and it's one of the more powerful weapons in the game, as every other weapon is really cool, but doesn't have a use. Like, there's the Accelerator and the Cycler, but I had no reason to use those apart from some plasma shielded enemies, but even those I didn't have much problem with those because I could just throw my shield at them regardless. For the Skull Crusher weaponry, the Skull Crusher weaponry is extremely creative and cool, but it only has a very limited use depending on how many enemies are nearby, which is where the BFG comes in, or the BFB, the Ballistic Firing Bow, I think that's what it was. I just called it the Big Freaking Bow, because we obviously know what they were trying to do there. But the BFB is the replacement for the BFG, and the BFG is usually this big gun that shoots this huge green beam that will insta-kill a big group of enemies. But in this game, if you're going to have a gun like the Skull Crusher that shoots such a wide spread of bullets that will quickly take out enemies, what's the point of having a BFB unless you're just going to use it on boss battles? And there's no boss battles that gun is really worth using it on, because you don't get it until way later, and all the bosses you fight really can be taken out without using the BFB at all. It's only until you get to the final boss where you're going to need that. But it's not just those weaponry, it's every weapon. Like with every enemy, every enemy encounter requires you to be right up close to the enemy. It's a really up close and personal game, as from Eternal, where you're trying to mostly avoid enemies while still staying in contact with them enough to kill them. In Doom the Dark Ages, you have to be in contact with the enemy at all times, and usually you have to be up right close to them, because you have to do your executions, you have your shield, you have melee weapons, and then you have your shotgun, which is the first weapon you get in the game, and probably one of the ones you're going to have upgraded most. So a lot of the weaponry is all very close range, including the Cycler and Accelerator, as well as the Super Shotgun, and the Pike Launcher and stuff, where while you have those weapons, you're not going to really be using them that much, because if the Super Shotgun is your main weapon and it works and it's effective, then that's the one you're going to be using the most, because that's really the best one to use. And instead of wasting ammo on other weapons that might take longer, you can just use the Super Shotgun and learn how that gun's loop works. There's no reason to use the Pike Launcher, because enemies don't have weak spots. The only reason you need the Pike Launcher is if you need to get a precision shot on a weak spot on an enemy's body, but there's no need for that because there are none. That's why the Precision Bolt was so useful in Doom Eternal, is because every enemy had a weak spot that could be hit, and you needed that precision, whereas every other gun in the game was more of like a wider spread, or a weapon that really you couldn't aim that well with. And that's the problem with Eternal's weaponry, is it's all really cool. I mean, the cannon shot, the Skull Crusher, this grenade launcher thing. We haven't seen a grenade launcher in an id Software game since Quake, and that's insane. But the fact that you can't really use the fact that you don't really need to use any of it, it just is a problem. And some people might say, well, that's just because that's just the way you play it. That's just the way that's just the way you play the game. I mean, that's how you want to play it, and you want to use the Super Shotgun. But if you remember, every weapon had a use that needed to be used on certain enemies in Eternal. It wasn't a choice to not use the weapons in Eternal. You had to. And Eternal is a very, very unforgiving game. If you don't do it exactly how they tell you to do it, there's a good chance you're not going to get out of that. There's a good chance you're not going to get out of an encounter alive. If you run around with a Super Shotgun only, you're going to run out of ammo and you're going to die in Doom Eternal. In Eternal, every weapon has a purpose. Every weapon has its ups and downs of who it's supposed to be used on and when. As in Eternal, but in Dark Ages, everything is just up close and personal and giant, So you're just going to pick the gun with the biggest spread and the highest damage, which is the super shotgun. There's no reason to use a rocket launcher because you'll just you'll just die from the splash damage, or there's no need to use the skull crusher because it has to rev up and then that'll take too long, or the accelerator because its damage is too low and it doesn't really do that much anyway. Like, there's not much use for it. And I really like the weapons. They're some of my favorites in the Doom series. The pipe launcher that launches these heated pikes is cool. Or this gun that crushes up dead enemy skulls and sprays them everywhere is incredible. Or this gun that launches cannonballs is super cool. But I ended up not using it more towards halfway through the game because there was just no need for me to. And when you think about, well, yeah, that's just your choice of playing, but that's every Doom player's choice, because when you're playing Doom, you're playing with the weaponry because you need to use it in that situation. And if the only weapon you're going to need in Dark Ages is the super shotgun, then there's no reason to use any other weapon. And that's a big problem I had, is because weapons are so crucial to the Doom series, and they've been since all the way back since Doom 1. And it's very saddening to see that none of them I really use that much, except when I first got them, but then I really just went back to using weapons like the super shotgun. So, yeah, I'm going to stop talking about the weaponry. I think the variety is great, but their usefulness is just completely destroyed in that game. Next, let's talk about environments. People tend to really like Doom environments, and I've heard people say that Dark Ages environments are repetitive, and I think I agreed with that at halfway, I think. Doom's environments have always been very interesting, and have always had a sort of charm to them, I guess. Like, they've always been very unique, ever since the first Doom game, where you'd have these environments from these space stations, to Mars, to Hell, to Earth. There were all these insane, well-crafted environments that all varied differently from one another, and I think that all worked really well together, especially in Doom 1 and Doom 2. And I think, like, certain games that people don't like in the Doom series, or not like as much, is things like Doom 3 and Doom 64, and that's because those environments in those games were very repetitive. You had a lot of the same hallways. In Doom 3, you had the same hallways you walked down that were always dimly lit until you got to the Mars and the Hell environments. And that's where I think people sort of fall, is that they like those games, but there's still something about the environments that's just boring or repetitive. And Doom the Dark Ages, I think, blends the repetitiveness and the non-repetitiveness together really well. There are like certain parts where I felt a little bored walking through castle or battlefield areas, but then there'd be areas like where you'd be in Hell, or where you'd be in the Cosmic Realm, or the Land of the Dead where all the blue souls and stuff are. Like, that stuff was really cool, and then that stuff felt a lot different and added some differentiating colors and some differentiating environments and biomes to walk through while you were in the game. And I felt that was really well done with Dark Ages. I definitely felt it felt repetitive at some points, especially because there's always been so much color in Doom environments, especially if you look at things like Doom Eternal, where everything was so colorful all the time, or even 2016, where they had lots of reds and blues and yellows everywhere, and sometimes even greens thrown in there, as in Dark Ages, where everything's mostly browns, grays, and blacks, which I'm talking about color schemes here, but I think that's definitely an important thing, especially when you're designing a game like Doom, where certain environments didn't feel like Doom and just felt more like Quake, which I definitely think Dark Ages was trying to be more like Quake, but you gotta remember it's a Doom game and not a Quake game. But certain environments felt really great, and I really love the Cosmic Realm. I have never felt more unsettled in a Doom game. Not scared, unsettled. It's a different thing. I've been scared in Doom 3. I've never been unsettled in Doom 3. Except maybe by those baby demons. Those are creepy. But Doom the Dark Ages really did well with the Cosmic Realm, because it was something that was still so different from Doom. Similar to how Eternal did the Maker worlds and stuff. Like those insane looking Maker, almost Halo Forerunner-like environments were incredible in Doom Eternal. And they were such a departure from what Doom normally does, but it worked so well. And that's what I think works really well in Dark Ages, is the Cosmic Realm is this Quake referenced, I think, but still insanely creepy other world filled with new enemies, and there was just like the entire sky being almost invisible, and you'll see like a creepy jellyfish monster float by, and then that level where you dive in the... I have extreme thalassophobia, by the way. I do not like deep sea at all. So that part where I just landed in the water and there's big tentacles from something I can't see, that was not fun. I swam down to that sunken ship immediately. But I think that they did a great job with the environments, and they weren't super repetitive. I don't think they're as repetitive as certain people have said they have been. I think they did great, and Doom, id Software, has always done a great job constructing worlds and levels to build. So, and they kind of were like the pioneers of first-person shooter level design, so they knew what they were doing. Good job on that. But now let's go to enemy variety and enemy AI, because this is where I also have a couple problems, but also a couple not problems. So Doom's AI with enemies has changed a lot over the years, especially because in Doom 1 they all moved a lot slower, and definitely what I could see, what they were trying to do with Doom Eternal, or Doom the Dark Ages, was trying to make it feel more like a classic Doom game. Because if you've ever played Doom 1 or 2, you'll know that certain enemies will launch rockets or fireballs, and they'll go at a slower pace, allowing you to weave in and around projectiles, allowing you to dodge enemies for you to make your next move on the enemy to take them out. And that was a really cool thing because it gave some strategy to the running, gunning action of Doom 1 and 2. And Doom the Dark Ages definitely blends that together really well. With every projectile, instead of being a really quick projectile like it was in Eternal, it was a lot slower and allowed you to weave in and out and block it with your shield if you're about to get hit, allowing you to choose whether or not you want to run straight at an enemy at the risk of getting hit by a projectile, or stand back farther and try to take them out from afar. But that's where the other problem comes in, is because everything is so up close with how enemies spawn and how more cramped certain environments are, and how certain enemies just don't take damage that much, especially with certain weapon spreads at farther ranges, that you're going to have to get a little closer. But I definitely think things like the parry system and the projectile amount from enemies like the Imp, where they would throw those big cross-shaped things at you, I think that was really well done in this, and I think it works really well with the gameplay loop of Dark Ages. But the variety of enemies is something I was very surprised at. I thought they were mainly just going to keep like the basic classic Doom, because they were trying to say, this is the most classic Doom game we can get for you. We're trying to go all the way back to our roots, and I figured they were not going to put any newer enemies in there and just keep it straight with old enemies. But there were actually a huge variety. We had the soldiers, the imps, and then you have things like the Mancubus, which are all classic Doom enemies. But I didn't expect the Whiplash snake things to come back, which they did, which I still hate them. They're still awful. But they are there, and they have like a bunch of new variety in certain boss enemies. The big heavy Slayer enemies did come back in the form of these big Arachnotron spider things. The Arachnotrons were there. So the variety of enemies was great, and I really enjoyed the entire like big cast of enemies to fight. There were some great ones, including the Cosmic Realm enemies. This guy is freaking scary. The Cacodemon, I don't really like that much. I think the design is fine, the Cacodemon hybrid, but the only problem I have is that the Cacodemon is such a classic Doom enemy that the fact it didn't appear that much in the game is a little saddening to me. The Cacodemon is one of my favorite enemy designs in a video game of ever, like, all time. Like, it's actually hilarious how much I like the Cacodemon. But the fact that it only appeared in a couple sequences in the main world and then the Cosmic Realm was a little disappointing. Oh, hold on, my green screen is undoing itself again. There it goes. So I think the enemy variety is great. It's a nice blend of new and old, and the designs of the enemies is really great. It brings that medieval feel while still having that super insane technological id Software look to everything, which I think is really great, especially with stuff like the Arachnotron. They just did a minigun instead of the big, like, freaking laser gun it has on the top. So that was really great. Enemy variety was great. Enemy behavior, on the other hand, that was something I had a couple problems with. Mainly these hell tank things. I hate these. These suck. These things are not fun. They shoot too fast and too much. And when they shoot the green things, sometimes it doesn't always hit. The green projectiles you're supposed to parry with your shield in order to knock that attack back at that enemy. For the tanks, if you parry it, it instant kills the tanks. The problem The hit registration is broken. I don't know if it was just me or not, but I'm pretty sure I'd knock these things back at these guys and they wouldn't die, and I'd have to do it more than once. Don't know what the problem was there, but it was there, and I'm not happy about it. These guys suck. Straight to jail. Yeah, those guys are bad. But enemy behavior, I felt, was just a little bland for me, because as in Eternal in 2016, I know that I'm making that a comparison, but that's because that comparison is such a big comparison, because those games are so well received and so well done that when you are expecting something from them in a game like this, then that's the comparison you're going to make. But in 2016 Eternal, all of these enemies that we see in the game had very unique abilities, unique behaviors, and that's what called for using different weapon types on them. In this, it kind of just felt like every enemy would move different, but not really do anything different. They'd mostly just shoot fireballs and smack me. It didn't feel too interesting for me, and I felt like I mostly was just rubbing against, like, just having to get right up on an enemy with my shotgun and just kill him with it. It was cool. The enemy variety is nice, the design is great, but their behavior just didn't really work for me. The movement was okay, I guess, in certain enemies. I definitely felt like it was a nice blend between the slower imps and then those little ones with the white hair all over them that run really fast. That was cool, but something about the way they acted just felt like they were more slow and more stupid, I guess, especially when every enemy was so much smarter and quicker and more aggressive, like something more to be feared, I guess, rather than something that's just going to be an annoyance. And that was a big thing I had internal, was when I felt like I was coming up on an enemy, I felt like it was more of like an annoyance rather than something that I should be thinking of as a challenge. In Dark Ages, certain enemies definitely felt better. Things like the Mancubus, the Cacodemon, the heavier demons felt more of something that would be more fun to fight and more of a challenge, rather than just something I'm going to have to sit there shooting annoyedly at for the next 5 minutes. Which is a big thing I had with 2016, was 2016 had some extremely bullet spongy enemies, and I'd just be sitting there with the chain gun shooting at them forever, and they would just never die. That's a big problem I had with it. But in this game, I think it was a lot better balanced. Let's talk about the balancing, though, real quick. The difficulty scalers, I think, are really cool. I don't think that's a justification for calling the game Doom the Woke Ages, like a lot of people did when the first trailers came out for it. But difficulty scalers are weird because they don't always work. So I felt like the game was extremely easy when I first played it. And I think that's a thing everyone else had, was the game felt incredibly easy, and I was playing on ultraviolence difficulty, and I had all the stats on default, so I felt incredibly easy. So about a little bit into my playthrough, I went into difficulty scales and turned things down. So like I would turn enemy aggression up, parry window down, damage to player up a little bit, and then damage to demons down a little bit, and it still felt very easy. Something about it felt not as extreme or as hard as a previous Doom game would be, like a more challenging Doom game. So the difficulty scalers, I don't know how they work exactly, but for some reason they just didn't feel that, the game didn't feel that hard. It did feel a little bit harder when I turned up enemy speed, but that just made the game nearly impossible if I turned it up too hard. So I don't know what the difficulty scaler problem is. Maybe I'm doing it wrong, but I know I played on a difficulty 1 above Nightmare, and I had a lot of stuff turned up that should have made it harder, but I still got through the game pretty easy. So in terms of the scaling for things, that's fine, but there are some balancing problems I had. So one thing I did like about this game was I felt like I had enough ammo to fight in the next, like, encounter I had with enemies. A big problem I have with Eternal is that I constantly felt like I was scrounging around for ammo because I felt like I had no bullets all the time. I don't know if that was a design choice or what, but I felt like at the end of big encounters, I'd always have to use my chainsaw at least twice, and then eventually there'd be a point where I was out of ammo on everything, and I'd have to chainsaw anyway, and then I'd have no chainsaw ammo. In this, I felt like I had enough ammo, and even if I ran out of ammo in one gun, I'd still have enough ammo in the others, or if I ran out of ammo in all the guns, I'd still have like 2 that had a lot of ammo in them that were still in, like, worth enough using. And that was before I started only using the super shotgun, which was about like halfway through my playthrough. So I think ammo scaling is fine. Ammo balancing was great. It felt like a 2016, which also I liked for its ammo amount, because 2016 I always felt like I had ample ammo to use, in every encounter. So that was great. Ammo was great, except melee ammo. So melee weapons. I kept this out of the weapons part of this video because melee weapons in this are weird. You get three. You get the power gauntlets, the flail, and the dread mace. These are very annoying to me. Melee weaponry should play a very big role in a game that is medieval or something set in a Dark Age tone like this, like Dark Ages is. And there are games that have done this very well. I've been playing a lot of Skyrim recently, and melee weaponry plays a huge part in that. Or something like Assassin's Creed, where melee weaponry is just a crucial part of the game. Or something even like Fable, and Fable's an old series, but I love Fable 3 because of its melee combat. It felt really great and balanced. In this, something especially in a more medieval tone, especially something like Doom, you think they would go all out with their weaponry, all out with their melee weaponry, except they only have 3 melee weapons, and they don't make sense. So the power gauntlets are just your fists, and you get them at the very beginning of the game. It teaches you that, oh, your power gauntlets are your way of getting ammo in this game, as the classic Doom thing goes. Setting enemies on fire gives you armor, glory killing gives you health, and, you know, meleeing things, usually with a chainsaw, gives you ammo. So they've replaced the chainsaw on this with melee weaponry. So you'll get your fists, and they have 3 melee ammo. You have melee power in this game, and when you use it, it will go down 1. And if you use all of them, you can't melee anymore. You have to pick up these little glowing red energy things that are called melee ammo. When you pick those up, you get your full ammo recharged. That's it. For at least the flail and the fists. So doing that refills your ammo. I think that's the most basic way I can put it. There's this one weapon, though, that you get in the Cosmic Realm called the Dread Mace. It's a very big bone-like mace is what I can call it. I think it looks like it's made of bones. So it's a very big mace, and it's very cool looking. But this is like an actual chainsaw, because you only get usually half your ammo using the flail and the gauntlets. With the Dread Mace, you get all your ammo for every weapon refilled. So it's basically the chainsaw. But it only has 1 use compared to the 3. The problem is, when you pick up the ammo for the previous ones, it refills all of the ammo full on all 3 charges with the previous 2 melee weapons. With this one, you get 1 charge, and it says it has the slowest recharge rate of any of the... Because it's not just... The melee weapons don't just recharge from ammo, you actually recharge them over time. The Dread Mace recharges the slowest over time, and it only has 1 charge. But picking up melee ammo for it recharges it fully. For a weapon that's as powerful as it is, and by the way, it's an instant kill weapon that refills all your ammo, it recharges fully with every hit. And not every hit. It recharges fully with every ammo pickup. And that's kind of a big deal, because that's a weapon that is an instant kill. And it recharges with this ammo that is kind of everywhere. I didn't know how to fix this, and I really thought it was my difficulty scaling being the problem. So I went in and turned ammo, like, resources down, like the resource valuability, like you can change how much you get from each thing. That didn't seem to do anything. So I just put it back on normal because I liked how it was before, but it didn't seem to do anything with how I turned it down. I don't know what's wrong with it. I don't know why it's like that, but the melee weapons are just so iffy in this game. Especially because melee is such a huge part of a medieval setting, especially something like a Doom game, and that's not the only problem I have with the melee weapons. Number 2 is that melee weaponry kind of gets that Quake problem, where it kind of gets outclassed the minute you pick up your next weapon, because when you have the power gauntlets, you have all these upgrades for it, but once you pick up the flail, why would you ever use the power gauntlets? The flail does more damage. But then when you pick up the Dread Mace, and if it does a full recharge of ammo whenever you pick up an ammo thing and it's an instant kill, why would you ever use the flail ever again? You can play the rest of the game using the Dread Mace and never have to worry about using the flail. So there's really no reason to have these, and they might as well just have stuck in the Dread Mace instead of putting these filler weapons here. It was very aggravating to me, and I felt like I was not having as good of a time with the melee, and that's one of the big reasons I didn't like Executions, is just because these melee weapons don't really serve a purpose apart from the one that does an insta-kill. So they didn't really feel like it was a great weaponry variety there. The melee weapons aren't great, I'm just gonna say it. And the Crucible was missing, which is a big freaking cleaver in a medieval setting, and a big freaking sword, and there's no sword. You got a shield and no sword. But, yeah. Oh, right, the shield. I guess we should talk about the shield. The shield is incredible. It's probably the best thing in the whole game. The shield is one of the most fun weapons I've ever had the pleasure of using in a Doom game. The shield can be thrown. The shield can be used to block and deflect enemy attacks. The shield can be used to dash and boost into enemies. The shield can be used as a melee weapon. The shield can be thrown into enemies to stun them. It has a chainsaw in it. You can get these insane runes for it that cause mini turrets to come out of your back and shoot stuff if you block stuff. The shield is incredible. The shield is awesome, and it needs to come back in a future Doom game. It's awesome. It's cool. And I had the real good time using it. This shield might fix every other problem I have with this game. Yeah, hold on. Yeah. Turn my mouth. Okay. Enough about me glazing the shield. The shield is good. Great shield. Nice job at software. So, we've gone over a couple things. Map and level design, weaponry, enemy behavior, the stupid melee weaponry, and the story. Oh man. That's a lot of stuff. But now let's talk about one of the most controversial things in the gaming industry right now. The price point for this game. I did not get this game at all. I did not purchase it. I got it on Game Pass. I played this game on Xbox Game Pass. Because the game is around $70 or $80 depending on where you live. I think it's $70 here. And the big problem with the video game industry right now is that Nintendo has released their Nintendo Switch 2 and has made their pricing for standard games $80. And now other companies have caught on and are starting to price their games this way. Things like Outer Worlds 2 and Borderlands 4 all possibly being priced at this $80 price point, charging almost a premium edition price for a standard game. That is not great. And for Doom the Dark Ages, I don't think the price point is fair. It's not a good price for the game at all, $70. I understand something like Doom Eternal being $50 or 2016 being $40 because they're older games, but also they have a lot to offer with them. And the problem I have with Doom Dark Ages is its price point is just not worth what you're getting. I am in no way saying the game is bad. I am not saying it's a terrible game. I'm not saying it's not worth money at all. I'm not saying it's crappy and low quality. I'm just saying for what you get, it's not really worth paying a huge amount of money for. The campaign, number one, is shorter than any Doom campaign I've ever played. It felt like it was shorter than Doom 1 almost, and I don't think that's possible. I beat Doom the Dark Ages in a little under a week. It took me like less time than to play that game than it did like any game I've ever played in my life. While Doom Eternal, it took me around a month to play, mainly because I'm not on video games all the time, but it also took me a lot longer. And if I had more time to play it maybe at least once every day, I probably would have beat Eternal in around a week or two. In Doom the Dark Ages, I didn't even beat it in half a week. I beat it in like maybe 4 days minimum. Doom the Dark Ages has a very short campaign, and if you're paying $70 for just a campaign that's not even going to keep you occupied for more than a week, I don't think that's worth the price point at all. Especially because Doom Eternal has so much more to offer, and Doom 2016 does. The big problem that other people had with Doom the Dark Ages is that it didn't have a battle mode or a deathmatch mode, and people were a little mad about that. And I'm not saying that a game is going to be bad based off of its extra modes, but I'm saying that if you're paying full price for a game that is almost priced at a premium title, or almost priced at the price of a premium title, you're going to expect a lot more. But when you load in the game, all you get is an extras tab and a campaign. And that's it. And we are getting future campaign DLC in the game, but that's only if you buy the premium edition, which is $100. And even for $100, all you get is an art book. You don't get anything else, and there's no other stuff to have for it right now. There's no new weapon skins, there's no extra mode, there's no multiplayer, there's no anything in Dark Ages, but it's campaign and it's extras. There are some extra skins and stuff, you know, some weapon skins that can be unlocked from weapon mastery challenges, but that's it. So I don't think the price point is really worth it at all. It doesn't feel fair to have to pay an obscene amount of money for a campaign that won't even keep you occupied for as much as the other games would, especially because this game is so hyped up that people are going to buy it anyway without realizing, like, that's not really worth the money. And then, yes, we are getting campaign DLC for this, but as I mentioned before, you have to own the premium edition to get it day one. Otherwise, you're just going to be paying more money for the campaign DLC. And if you don't know, the Ancient Gods DLC for Doom Eternal is priced at almost a full price of a normal game for both parts of the DLC. Which, whether that's fair or not, that's for you to decide, not me. But if you're paying almost premium pricing for a standard edition of a game to get none of the stuff that comes later on, and you're still going to have to pay full price for the DLC when it comes out anyway, I don't think that's really fair. And I think this is a big problem with video games now, is that when other companies set new standards, every company wants to hop on that train. So pricing for this game, I do not think is worth it at all. Not in the slightest. Okay, so this is the last portion of the game. I've talked about everything under the sun that could be right and could be wrong with this game. I've talked about the pros, the cons, everything. But let's talk about the replayability of this game. So another problem with the price point would be how, if you're buying the game, you're probably going to want to replay it a lot, especially if you're paying a lot of money for it. So, how replayable is this game in terms of the collectibles you can find, in terms of levels? So, this game does have collectibles, similar to Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal. The problem is, you're probably going to find most of the secrets and collectibles in just your basic playthrough. This is something that Actman did touch on in his video, and that is definitely true. It's mostly like, oh, you looked up and you found something. That was me. I would walk down a hallway that I thought was part of the mission, and I'd end up unlocking a secret. Or I'd do something because I didn't see where the right way to go was, and I'd end up doing an entire secret puzzle and unlock a secret right then and there. So replayability is probably not great, especially because there's a lot less collectibles in this than there were in Eternal. In Eternal, all the collectibles are a lot harder, and if you're playing 2016 Eternal, you'll probably find a couple just playing through if you're just doing it for the story, but you're not going to find a lot of them. No way near the amount you're going to find in Doom the Dark Ages playing through it once. So if you play Eternal, you're probably going to actually have to look and use your auto map, which I hardly used the auto map in that game at all during the campaign part. So in terms of that, there's not really much to find there. And I'm sure you'll say something like, oh, well, there's weapon masteries, but even those aren't that worth it. You see, weapons don't have mods anymore. Weapon mods were a big thing in 2016 in Eternal, where you'd find these little drone bots that carry weapon attachments. You can unlock new attachments for your weaponry that let the weapon do different things. Things like the precision bolt or the sticky bomb for the heavy cannon and assault rifle, or the heavy assault rifle and the combat shotgun. In this game, they are relegated to weapon upgrades, which are small upgrades but not full weapon mods. So one of them is like, if you shoot an enemy and do a critical hit with the combat shotgun, it'll set the enemy on fire or something like that. Like, yeah, that's it. There's not like any big mods. And you don't really... It's not really even a weapon mastery challenge, because it's not get all the upgrades and then you get the challenge. It's just you get a couple upgrades and then it will give you a challenge and then you do it. And it is like the weapon mastery challenges where you do them, but you don't get any special buff to your weaponry or something like that. It's not like with the heavy cannon in Doom Eternal, where if you do its weapon mastery challenge, you get to fire the micro missiles indefinitely until eventually you run out of ammo. It's nothing like that. You just get a gold camo for your weapon. That's it. You don't get anything else. Not that I've seen. You don't get any kind of weapon buff. You might get like a slight damage buff, I think. I don't really remember, but I think it's only a weapon camo. So unless you're wanting to go back and replay the entire game just to have gold camo on all your weapons, then feel free to, but I'm not going to be doing that. And the weapon, and especially because of how repetitive certain levels are in Doom, replaying them is really not going to be that fun of a time, even if you do have all of the weaponry unlocked when you're going through the level. So just compared to Eternal in 2016 with the amount of collectibles in those games to find and how hidden those were, versus how many you're just going to find walking through a random hallway on Doom Dark Ages, I don't think Doom Dark Ages has that much replayability. I think it's a great game. Don't get me wrong. I think Doom the Dark Ages is incredible. I love the soundtrack. It was really great. It felt like a nice mix of modern Doom and more classic Doom. I really liked all of the environments and all of the gameplay aspects. The weapons were really fun and creative. But the replayability, the price point, and just features being missing, and then the game not being feature complete anyway because it doesn't have all the modes that were in previous Doom games over, 5 years ago now. I don't think it's worth the price point, and Doom the Dark Ages just really does feel like a disappointment. And I hate to break it to all you id Software fans, but not everything id Software makes is gonna be great. But listen, I don't think it's a bad game at all. I think it's great. I think it is one of the better games that's released this year. It's fun to play. It's got a great story. It's not just a cash grab game. They really did put effort into this game with the art style, with all the effort put in. They really did, but it just is missing some things. It's missing that Doom flair that was in those previous Doom games. And originally first starting playing it, I thought I really wanted it to be Game of the Year, but the more I think about it, there are just so many better games out there that could probably win Game of the Year instead of this. Things like Splitgate 2 or Expedition 33. It's just not that incredible. It's not that mind-blowing like the previous Doom games were, like the entire reimagining with Doom 2016 or the insane hyper-fast action of Doom Dark or Doom Eternal. And it's nothing to do with the game being slower or different that I don't like. I like different stuff. It's just stuff being missing and the price point being so utterly absurd for the amount of things you're getting when you could just wait for Doom Eternal to go on sale for $20 and get that and have way more stuff to do in that one than paying premium pricing for a standard game. So, what do I think of Doom the Dark Ages? I think it's okay. I think it's a good game. It's not bad. It's not incredible. It's not terrible. It's just good, okay? I didn't say it was ever going to be bad. I think it is fun. It did really well with its art style. It had great music. It was fun to play. But does it deserve all the hype? I don't think so. Does it deserve the price point? I don't. And it is not as good as people are making it out to be. I hate to break it to you, but it's not. So, yeah, that's my video on Doom the Dark Ages. That's my review of it. I will show some gameplay from some other creators because I physically have no way of recording Doom the Dark Ages gameplay for myself. So, shout out to those creators. I will leave their channels right here. You can go watch their videos. But, thank you so much for watching this. And if you want to make your own 1-hour commentary video dissecting everything I said in this video and telling me why I'm wrong, please feel free to. Just know I'm right. But, yeah, so, thank you so much for watching, and if you want to see more Doom content, please let me know, and I know it's been like over a year since I made that Doom 3 video, and it's been even a longer time since I did that stupid live stream of Doom 3. I'm getting better at it, and I'm going to do more Doom content in the future, and if you want to see more Doom content and more video game stuff, and more video game commentary or video game essay stuff, subscribe to this YouTube channel, because I do a lot of that here, and I do a lot more. So, please subscribe. Thank you for watching. I am very close to 100 subscribers. I'm at 91 currently. 9 more subs. 9 more of you people subscribe. And I'll be at 100. And we'll be getting somewhere. So, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye. 47 minutes, that's not bad.